And as we said, at least half a dozen of these books have been in print. The death of Bukhari was a bit of a tragedy in that towards the end of his life, people became jealous of him, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tested him with some trials. And this is something that many people find surprising, and it is something that is a sad reality of human nature, that even scholars have their petty jealousies. You see, all of you in your fields, you know you have your jealousies. Doctors are competing with one another, right? Professors, teachers, your own company, everybody is cutthroat competition. This is human nature. You all know this from your own occupations and background. Many of you don't realize that scholars are also human. And the sad reality, sometimes shaitan gets the better of some people and they think that their criticism of another scholar is meant for Islam, whereas it is meant for their own ego, right? And sometimes it is possible that the one who criticizes might be somehow sincere, but shaitan makes a small issue much bigger, right? And he feels that, oh, who does this guy think he is and whatnot? And this is what happened with Imam al-Bukhari's contemporaries and Imam al-Bukhari. That Imam al-Bukhari got so famous that his contemporaries, some of them, they really could not fathom, or they could not swallow it. And of his most famous problems was with the Sheikh of Bukhara, his own hometown. Towards the end of Bukhari's life, when he was around 59 years old, 58 years old, Imam al-Bukhari decided to now finally retire back to his hometown. Not retire from hadith, but retire back to his hometown. And so Imam al-Bukhari announced that he's moving back to Bukhara. And he moved back to the city, or the province that he came from. And the most famous scholar of hadith in the area was somebody by the name of Muhammad ibn Yahya al-Dhuhali. Al-Dhuhali. That was the most famous scholar. And to give you an idea of who he was, al-Dhuhali was the mentor of Imam Muslim. Okay? So before Bukhari comes back, Imam Muslim is a student. Who's his teacher? Al-Dhuhali. So Bukhari comes back, and Imam al-Dhuhali is so excited and ecstatic, he actually leads a procession welcoming Bukhari back and saying, we are so happy you wanted to retire, we're grateful for you to come back, the city is all yours. However, after a short period of time, when Bukhari started teaching, al-Dhuhali noticed his students diminishing and Bukhari's students increasing. And he lost his most prized student, Imam Muslim. Imam Muslim, when he studied with Bukhari, he realized Imam al-Bukhari is light years ahead of Imam al-Dhuhali. And so he wanted to benefit. So he started attending the halaqat of Imam al-Bukhari, and Imam al-Dhuhali's halaqa grew smaller and smaller and smaller, and Bukhari's halaqa grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And during that time, there was a controversy that we don't have time to get into about the issue of the Quran being created or uncreated, a very famous controversy that happened. And the Sunni position is the Quran is Kalamullah, created or uncreated? Uncreated. This is the Sunni position. This is what defines Sunnism. The Quran is uncreated. And Sunnis unanimously agree the Quran is uncreated. Kalamullahi ghayru makhluq. And anybody who says the Quran is created for Sunnis, this was an innovation, a bid'ah, a mubtadi'. Somebody who says is a mubtadi'. Now, what happened was, to make a long story short, somebody asked an ambiguous question to Bukhari. And these questions are a little bit vague. When I recite the Quran, is my recitation created or not? This is a question that is like splitting hairs, right? You're going too deep. We believe the Quran is uncreated. But now, when I recite the Quran, so what am I reciting? The Kalamullah. But then my voice, is my voice, so you're asking too many questions, right? And that's why, asking too many questions sometimes is a problem, as the Quran tells us. Going too deep, right? Tell us about the cow. What color is the cow? Where did the cow come from? You know the story, the Baqarah, right? Asking too many questions can backlash. So somebody, Allah knows who he was or what his niyyah was, begins asking Bukhari these deep questions, until finally Bukhari answers, when you recite the Quran, your voice is created. Now pause here, footnote, because I mentioned the topic. So Imam al-Bukhari was ahead of his time, and he went beyond what his scholars were comfortable saying, because at the time the position was, let's not talk about the voice. Let's just leave that Quran kalamullah ghayru makhluq. Let's not get into the voice, is it created, is it uncreated. Bukhari was ahead of his time in that he analyzed this issue that previous scholars didn't want to talk about. And he said, when you recite the Quran, there is an element that is uncreated, and that is kalamullah ghayru makhluq. But the medium of expression, which is your lungs and the air and the vocal cords, this is created. And similarly with the Mus'haf, the Quran. Somebody says, is the Quran Mus'haf created or uncreated? This is an ambiguous question. The pen that the Mus'haf was written by is created. The ink is created. The paper is created. The book is created. But what is written on the paper is uncreated. What the ink has written is uncreated. What is in the book is uncreated. You see the point here, right? There's an element of ambiguity, and Bukhari was ahead of his time. So he said something that no scholar before him had said, which is, there's a clarification. When you say the voice of the Qari is created, so the voice is created, but what he recites is uncreated. Let me clarify this with a simple example. To be or not to be, that is the question. Who said that? I just said it. You see? You see? You see the point here? When I say, who said that? All of you said Shakespeare. But you just heard it from my voice. Well, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, to Allah belongs the even more perfect example. This is what Bukhari was saying. That when a Qari recites the Quran, there is an element, not kalam al-makhluq, not Shakespeare's kalam, Allah's kalam, uncreated kalam. And then there's an element that the voice, the lungs, the vocal cord. So Bukhari was ahead of his time. Okay, this came back to al-Dhuhali. And may Allah forgive him and us. And all of us have our personal faults, and perhaps he was sincere. Allah knows, perhaps shaitan made it different, pleasing to him. And inshallah, Allah Azza wa Jalla is forgiving. So he jumped on it. And he said, Bukhari is claiming the Quran is created. And Al-Dhuhali was the sheikh of the town. The children have grown up with him being the mufti, right? He has the prestige. Bukhari, no matter he's from Bukhara, but he's a foreigner now, because he hasn't lived in Bukhara. Right? No matter what his prestige is in the city, he is somebody coming in as a stranger now. And so there was a big commotion, because our shaykh, whom we trust and we've grown up knowing, is saying that Bukhari is a mubtadi', because he's saying something that we've never heard before, and that is the voice of the Qari is created. So Al-Dhuhali said, abandon Bukhari, leave Bukhari alone. He is an innovator, he believes in a heretical belief. And Imam al-Bukhari, obviously, this was very painful for him, because he has kept his reputation crystal clear. And his reputation in theology is stellar. And by the way, it was because of this controversy that he wrote one of his last books ever, and that is called خَلْقُ أَفْعَالِ الْعِبَادِ, that Allah has created the actions of men. And his point was, the actions of men are created by Allah. So, the voice is created, but what is recited, the Quran, is uncreated. Right? So this was what the book was about. Nonetheless, this was very painful for him. Coupled with this was a political problem that took place. So this was a religious problem. Coupled with it,